Springfield's Talk 104. What headphones are these?
Those are
What is
mine.
going on? What? Everything sounds weird. It sounds in a manner that I am not accustomed to. It's like, well, it's just different. Oh, now I don't hear anything. Oh, here, let's switch those. Oh, boy. What a great way to... They're much better. I think the first time I used these, I didn't care for them either. But I've just become accustomed to them. All right, a great Thursday, everyone. Tomorrow, Friday, we'll be at Scramblers, and we'll be doing the show there. And then we will have happy hour at Retro Metro, and that is just hang out. It's going to be between 4 and 6. And we're getting into the nicer weather, and it just, I don't know. I feel like it'll be a great time for us to come along. If you haven't been to one for a while, I'd love for you to show up, especially those of you that are going on the Great Escape. We only have, this September, like 1 or 2 more happy hours until the Great Escape. Now, obviously, if you're not going on the Great Escape, you can still come to the happy hour. But it's just always fun as we get closer. If you sign up for the catamaran, I sign up for the catamaran. Oh, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. Oh, I can't wait. Can you believe it's almost here? It seems like just yesterday, it's kind of redundant conversation, but it's fun to have, unless, of course, you aren't going on the Great Escape and then you're listening to us all talk about it. But you know what? You can just sign up for the next one, and then you can enjoy it as well. We've got Author of the Week, sponsored by ABC Books on North Glenstone in the 8 o'clock hour. Christy Fulnecki will be joining us in the 7 o'clock hour, as she does on most Thursdays. And those are kind of that's the layout of the programming stuff. Some of the media on the left, they continue to spread conspiracy theories about Trump, and he's on the verge of death. Despite what is just hilarious, Anderson Cooper had their resident doctor on, that Gupta guy, and he's promoting a new book. But I mean, the first question out of Anderson Cooper's mouth is, what do you think about the president's health? And essentially the answer was, look, this is kind of normal stuff for a guy his age. The ankle swelling, they've told us what that is. Yeah, that makes sense. That's what, when you get to a certain age, blood just doesn't flow back up. It's not uncommon. This is why you see like compression socks. You see all that this is not abnormal. This would be similar to some degree. It looks like he's getting wrinkles and gray hair. Well, these are things that happen when you get older. And the bruising on his hand. Have none of us ever seen what happens to people when they get to a certain age and they bump their hand, or they bruise a lot easier. This is. It's people on the left apparently have never met or been around an old person. They've never met or been around somebody that is, over the age of 75, because it's clear some of these very normal medical issues, if you even want to call them that are happening with Donald Trump. It's like they're just completely oblivious to this stuff. CNN also back on the Donald Trump is going to cancel election theme. They've gone back to that one because, of course, like, how would that even work? This is the thing about you people on the left. Explain to me how you think that would work. So all of these, in particular, the states that are run by Democrats, Donald Trump's going to say, you know what, we're not going to have any more elections. And all of those counties, all of those cities, all of the states that are run by Democrats are going to go, oh, okay, I guess we won't hold elections anymore. Is that what you think is going to happen? I got a news flash for you. If Trump did say, we're going to cancel elections, I don't think there would be any Republicans. Despite what your derangement syndrome might tell you, there would be no Republicans that would say, okay, we'll cancel the elections. How do you think that would play out? Explain that to me. Democrats tried to, by default, cancel the last presidential election by having Trump taken off the ballot. That's a way of canceling the election without canceling the election. Is you just remove the person that you don't want to win off of the ballot so that the only option people have left is the person that you want. And Colorado led the way with their Democrat Secretary of State, and the Supreme Court stepped in and unanimously said, yeah, you can't do that. You can't cancel elections by default. So, of course, again, the people who are screaming from the rooftops that Donald Trump is going to cancel elections are the same people who tried by default to cancel the last election. And not just by having Trump removed from the ballot, of course, by trying to imprison him, keeping him off the campaign trail, trying to drain him of all of his resources, trying to just label him as a felon so that, people in their minds would no longer see him as a valid candidate, hence the polling they would do, well, if he's a felon, would you still vote for him? I mean, this all was part of a huge effort by the left to have a default cancellation of the presidential election. Yet here they're warning, oh, Donald Trump, he might do that. Explain how he would do that. Well, he would just say you can't have elections, and everyone's going to comply in your mind. That's what's going to happen? Wake up. Wake up. Quit being stupid. I don't know how much more plainly. I think at this point we really need to, it's almost like a smack across the face to a hysterical person. And I think we need to just start telling these people, quit being stupid. You're being an idiot. There are a lot of real, true, genuine things in the world to concern one with. You don't have to make up these scenarios that could never actually occur anyhow, even if Trump wanted it to, even if all of the Trump supporters wanted it to happen, still wouldn't happen. Quit being dumb. Quit being stupid. Quit being an ignoramus. We could go down the list of names. Latest news update.
And the first alert forecast from Ozarks First meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by St. Clair of the Ozarks Home Improvements. Today we'll see mostly cloudy skies with a high near 84. Tonight, cloudy with a low around 62. For your Friday, a 40% chance of showers and thunderstorms after 1 p.m., and then mostly cloudy with a high near 75. And taking a look at Saturday, sunny with a high near 77.
I can't wait I love that story Mike Landis had about Ron DeSantis and the cancellation of these vaccine requirements and Florida schools for the repeat of hysterics that we saw when Ron DeSantis reopened beaches because science showed that being outside around other people was not something that was going to unnecessarily facilitate COVID, that was really an irrelevant factor. And, they're going to kill us all. Going to kill us all. Grandma's going to die. And then the push to reopen the schools with the teachers' unions and the Democrats out there lockstep, arm in arm, doing everything they could to prevent kids from being educated, from having the social interaction with other children that are so important to, those formative years. And of course, Ron DeSantis, it's going to kill everyone. Even if he doesn't kill the kids are going to be carriers, and then they're going to go hug grandma, and they're going to kill grandma. Might as well just choke grandma with their little tiny little hands. That's what he's going to be doing, Ron DeSantis. Same thing with this vaccine mandate. It's going to be the same thing. Same hysterics from the exact same people. Yawn. Latest traffic update. Happy hour at Retro Metro tomorrow, 4 to 6. Come join us. Spend time with us, with one another. We need to get Lori Rook to one of those. Ozarks Elder Law. She's always, if you have any questions regarding, elder law or your own future when it comes to, quote, will. And here's what I would ask her. I keep hearing these ads about, during nationally syndicated programs where you can just go online and it's as easy as that. It's as easy as that. You just fill out a little thing and bam, it's taken care of. And when the government comes snooping around and you're like, oh, no, I did an online thing. And they're going to go, oh, okay. Ask her about that. Ask her how that plays out. That's what I would recommend. Whether it is your own estate or even if you don't think you own much at all, or your power of attorney situation, what happens to you if you are in some sort of accident and you are unable to make decisions for yourself medically? Do you have that taken care of? A nursing home for yourself, for your loved ones. Have you done that? Do you know how many ways there are to pay for it? Do you know how that diminishes as time goes on? There is so much information that you do need to know in order to make sure you and your family is protected. These are some of the Ozark Elder Law locations. Springfield, Ozark, Nixa, Branson, Lebanon, Marshfield, Bolivar, Republic, Joplin, and Mountain Grove. Consultations free. So you can find out without any cost what you need to do and what it will cost you before you ever get into it. OzarksElderLaw.com. Also under Nick's endorsements at KSGF.com. Good people, good people. There's Mike Landis had the story about Florida, Ron DeSantis, and the doing away with this. And I honestly, I don't know all the details, but some of the vaccine requirements for kids going into school as they were. And I noted how I'm sure we're going to hear from teachers' unions in particular, it's going to be the exact same hysterics we heard every time anyone did anything that wasn't approved by the elites. Opening beaches, opening restaurants, letting kids go back to school. I remember, as perhaps you do as well, it made national news. National news. When one of the resorts at the Lake of the Ozarks allowed people to swim in the swimming pool. Do you remember that story? How it was going to be ground zero for this massive new wave of outbreaks? It was national news. I believe it was even talked about on all the left-wing late-night talk shows, and just how stupid could these hillbilly Missourians be? Lake of the Ozarks, here they are. We finally are getting this under control thanks to Fauci. And they allowed people to swim in his swimming pool.
And then we had the hairdressers, too.
Oh, well, that was, right here in Springfield. What I specifically also recall about the new ground zero for the second wave outbreak that was going to slaughter millions of people because of that swimming pool at Lake of the Ozarks was the fact that they did trace, they followed up to find out, how many of these people got it and spread it, and no one. If I remember right, there was somebody who had it, but they were the ones who they brought it there, but it didn't get passed around. Probably because most of those anti-science heathens had natural immunity. But these people on the left still act as if we need to abide by those old rules, listen to the same old people, even when we know it doesn't work. To that point, the point of even when we know it doesn't work. The Chuck Todd cast, very clever. Chuck Todd, his podcast, and had a sit-down discussion with Democratic Florida Representative Jared Moskowitz. And that discussion was about Florida turning red. And which, of course, for some time it had been evolving into red, but it just clicking in, just really clicking in and becoming 100% reliably red, and what caused that?
Ron DeSantis won his re-election in Florida by 19 points, and Donald Trump just won Florida by 13 points.
Yeah.
Okay, so the policies that came out of COVID, closing of schools, the fact that Florida opened schools early because the data was clear, it wasn't spreading in schools. Right. That's a big piece, Chuck. I mean, and I was telling my Democratic colleagues, like, guys, read the data. Like, I would sit at a conference table with the governor. We would be reading the data from Denmark, right, and Germany and Europe because they were ahead of us, and it was clear it wasn't spreading in the schools. Okay, and I said to my Democratic colleagues, I'm like, when we open schools, it's going to be very popular. When you guys come out and tell parents you want to keep their kids in the house for another year, okay, I'm telling you. This is where this is going. And none of my colleagues wanted to hear it, Chuck. None of them wanted to hear it.
Is that the power of the teachers union? Would you ascribe it to that, or is it just
it's part teachers union, part teachers union.
Okay.
Part also, we were at a point of polarization that if DeSantis wanted to open government, open schools, then I had to be against it.
Right.
Then I had to be against it.
So there's three takeaways there. One, it's nice to hear. I should intro this by noting it's nice to hear a current Democrat member of Congress speak the truth to this stuff. Now, I believe it's happening for a couple of reasons. There is, I think, either an open U.S. Senate seat or the gubernatorial seat that this particular member of Congress, this Democrat, is looking to higher office. And so he recognizes the Florida audience here. So he's admitting, yes, we were wrong. Also, I believe that the Democrats in particular have become so accustomed to performing in a manner that is disconnected from reality that they have gotten to where they openly talk about it. This is once upon a time the sort of conversation that would occur behind closed doors. That you would never want, this is the sort of thing that if the audio leaked of this sort of conversation here, a Democrat admitting that they knew schools should not be closed. That they knew, according to the data, to the science, to reality, that closing schools did no good whatsoever, none. In fact, of course, we know it did tremendous harm to young people. That is the sort of thing that if an elected official got caught on a hot mic admitting it or some secret recording, it would have been scandalous once upon a time. But now Democrats openly talk about this stuff. And part of it, frankly, is because they know their voter base does not care. This is a Democrat, current Democrat elected official, openly during a podcast admitting that they were lying to everyone during that entire period of COVID. When they were claiming that Ron DeSantis was going to kill off people by opening schools, when they were running around, he's admitting, oh yeah, we knew that wasn't true. We had the data. I thought it was telling that he said when he would pore over that data during this period of time and they'd be having discussions and he's, telling his Democrat colleagues there that, look, here's the data, here are the facts. And he said it didn't matter to them. Oh, wow, what a revelation that is. The truth, the facts don't matter to Democrats. I mean, he's one of them. He's admitting this. Now, he's claiming that he was the voice of reason amongst all the other Democrats and that he was, he was that one sole Democrat that accepted reality and didn't ignore it. But this is why this is why you look at how can Democrats run things into the ground and this, how can they run cities into the ground? How do they do all of this and not actually want to make things better? Because they just don't care about the facts. That's what this Democrat Florida congressman is saying. My colleagues didn't care about the facts. It was irrelevant to them. And as to what reason? 2, he cited teachers' unions, and because we had to do the opposite of the Republicans. Even when the Republicans were right, we had to push the wrong thing. We had to mislead people and spread disinformation when it came to COVID. That's what he's saying here. And Chuck Todd, they just sit around. This is what's so appalling about it. And they act like it's just, well, that's just politics. You think about how many people that they broke their brains by spreading disinformation about COVID. There are some of these people to this day will walk around with masks on. Some of the people who believed their lies. Because of the effectiveness of their lives, there were people that died alone because they were quarantined, and family members were told, even a dying family member, you can't get near because, you might give them COVID. People that died alone. People that never got to say that final goodbye to their loved ones. Moms and dads that were arrested in front of their kids because they took them to the park. The absolute lunacy, the damage that was done. You had in Springfield, you see someone not wearing a mask, call 911. I mean, encouraging people to snitch on one another. They created an environment in which literally, to this day, some families speak to one another no longer. And it's, of course, we all know this. And by the way, the studies have shown this. It's always people on the left. In fact, there was research done recently, and this will come as no surprise, about, who did you vote for in the presidential election? Who do you support? And would you cut off a family member permanently for not believing the same things that you do? And the group of people that were least likely to cut off friends and family members were Trump supporters. And, of course, those who were most likely to do so were Kamala Harris supporters, people that voted for Kamala Harris. To this day, you have left-wing individuals that will not speak to family members because of the disinformation regarding COVID. Because they were convinced that their family members were these hate-filled, anti-science people who were lunatics and going to destroy the planet. And to hear so casually Chuck Todd and Democrat Florida Congressman Jared Moskovich, however you pronounce his name, so casually talk about the fact they knew they were lying. But we had to say the opposite of what Republicans did, and we had to say what teachers' unions told us to say. And the fact that that isn't some massive scandal, that revelation tells us how far fallen the Democrat Party has become. The expectations of truth and honesty and is so far removed from expectations of the Democrat Party. You can have one of their own fully admit, well, two of their own having the conversation, Chuck Todd being the other one, that's how they operated, and everyone's like, well, yeah, that sounds about right. But still, Florida Governor DeSantis saying, you know what, these old antiquated rules regarding some of these requirements with vaccines and kids, we need to advance, we need to progress, we need to move past them. Those same people to today admit they lied about COVID because had to take the opposite position of Ron DeSantis are going to be the same ones that scream about that move he just made. Springfield's Talk 104.1, I'm Nick Reed. Happy hour coming up tomorrow. Retro Metro 4 to 6. Great little couple of social hours. They do have a number of happy hour specials when it comes to food, and I believe some beverages as well. You know, they keep that fresh, so it does change every so often. But that will be Retro Metro 4 to 6 tomorrow.
Springfield's Talk 1041, the first alert forecast from Ozark's first meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by J&S Automotive. Today we'll see mostly cloudy skies with a high near 84. Tonight, cloudy with a low around 62. For your Friday, we'll see a 40% chance of showers and thunderstorms after 1 p.m., and then mostly cloudy with a high near 75. And taking a look at Saturday, sunny skies with a high near 77.
The Cattle Barons Ball event is coming up very soon. This is to support American Cancer Society. It is going to be Saturday, September 13th, 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. live entertainment, silent live auctions, gourmet food stations, mechanical bull riding, and more. Adults-only event that, again, helps support American Cancer Society, and you can have a chance to win a pair of tickets by going to ksgf.com. I thought this was just a great piece of audio because it's nothing groundbreaking, but it demonstrates the mode of operation by Democrats to say things with absolutely no evidence whatsoever. And the expectation of that, because there is no longer any standard when it comes to claims if you are a Democrat. No, there's no standard. You can just say whatever you want. Trump's going to cancel elections. Trump is dead. Oh, okay. You're an expert. Got any evidence? Well, but people are saying. Oh, okay. All right. Bill de Blasio, widely recognized as one of the biggest failures in terms of an elected official, second maybe only to Kamala Harris, as he helped run New York City into the ground, and he has come out to endorse Mamdani, the anti-Semitic left-wing nut job that is running for mayor of New York on the Democrat ticket. And he is on Morning Joe touting, all these wonderful things that Mamdani's talking about, free this, free that, and how it just works everywhere. Did you know that? It works. Free busing is one of the many examples that de Blasio uses here to tout what a wonderful mayor that Mamdani will be for the people of New York. Free busing. There are cities, he claims, all over this country that have done, and it works.
Free bus.
And who runs that?
The city of New York runs it just like we run so many other services. And the bottom line here is think about the free buses again. Free buses has been proven to work in many parts of the country.
Where?
I'll get you a list of cities, but the bottom line is it is something.
Oh, yeah, I'll get you that list. Oh, I'm sure he did. And, of course, he was allowed to go on. The point wasn't made by the left-wing host at Morning Joe. No, let's go back here. You said it is proven that free government-run busing, quote, works. First off, what is your definition of works? And then in what cities has this been proven? How was it proven? Who proved it? But that is such a perfect little snapshot of the way that the Democrats operate, and they're allowed to operate in the media. They can make any claim they want. Anything. You had last week or the week before on CNN, one of their experts, left-winger, semi-automatic weapons. This was in the coverage of the trans shooter. Semi-automatic weapons. Just pull the trigger once and it fires 7 or 8 shots. Just with one pull of the trigger. I mean, just about as untrue can be. It is as untrue can be. Nobody steps in and says, no, wait a minute, that's wrong. Because he's a left-winger. Say whatever you want. You got de Blasio, and this isn't the biggest issue in the world, free busing, but it's just a demonstration of how they operate and how they're allowed to operate, make a claim that it's proven, it's true, everyone knows it, it's absolutely true, and then in the rare instance you're actually asked, well, where has this been proven? Oh, I'll get you the list. You don't know them off the top of your head? If it's proven to work, wouldn't the list be every city that has it? That should be an easy answer. If it has been a proven effective function of government, then it would work every single city that has it. By whatever standards, again, working means. And then on the rare occasion, and I don't know, Scarborough, I don't think was asking him, well, where, because he was trying to nail him to the wall. But because he was trying to help him out. All right, well, let's find some of these examples so we can go ahead and bolster Mamdani's desire to also have this sort of government-run program in New York City because, we can say, oh, well, Philadelphia or St. Louis or wherever it is that de Blasio gives us this list of proven places, but when it becomes clear that there are none of these places and he can't list any off, then, we'll just let that go. That is everyday operation for the media. And that's why the average American understands and recognizes if you want truth, if you want to just know what is really going on, don't listen to these people. Springfield's Talk 1041, I'm Nick Reed. talking earlier, playing audio of a Democrat member of Congress in Florida on Chuck Todd's podcast, talking about COVID and how they knew that the data proved it was not being spread in schools, and there was no reason to close the schools. But Democrats pushed for it, one, because the teachers' unions wanted them to, and two, because, well, Republicans were for following the science and the facts and allowing kids back in school, so they had to take the opposite position. Listen to this headline. COVID surge hits California as officials urge people to start wearing masks again. That is not a headline from back then. That is today's headline. And someone, thank you to the person who had texted in that, can you believe that in California, they're actually... This is really happening now. You can Google this news story. The experts out in California are urging people to start wearing masks again. Oh, because we may see a surge in COVID. So what? What is the mask going to do? We know it doesn't do anything. They might as well, the health experts in California, start encouraging people to carry around a rabbit's foot for good luck in order to prevent the catching and spreading of COVID. But that isn't to say that there isn't some sort of spike in COVID, because COVID has become what so many of us believed it would become based off of historical patterns of these things, these newly developed illnesses that start, they first hit human beings and then they kill off a lot of people. And then eventually what happens is it reaches everyone on the planet and it levels itself off to where it becomes like a standard flu or a standard cold that, particularly people with very compromised immune systems or very ill elderly people, you hear, sometimes, complications due to the flu. So this is where COVID is at this point. But we don't encourage, though I'm surprised we haven't started, we don't encourage people to wear masks, because the cold or flus or, any of these other things are on the rise. It is this continued pattern of doubling down on superstitions. Doubling down on information that we know is not accurate. And you see, these people, they live in this world of superstition, this world of fantasy, this world of make-believe, while the rest of us are walking around recognizing reality, understanding science. You have some of these people on the left that, again, might as well just be walking around with a lucky rabbit's foot. And in their minds, the vast majority of people who are living in reality are anti-science. We're the crazy ones. But isn't that usually how crazy people view normal people? They think they're one of the very few normal ones and everyone else. Or paranoia works that way as well. Everyone is out to get them. California should be humiliated. They have experts running around. Well, they might as well start telling people to stay 6 feet away from one another again. Gavin Newsom, he can go back to the French Laundry while ordering businesses shut down. Might as well. I mean, if the experts on the left are going to recommend people wear masks because COVID is on the rise again, why don't they then also recommend everything else that they did in the past? because everything else was just all of these other restrictions were as relevant and scientifically based as the masks. Why just pick the masks? Shut down businesses again. Shut down the schools again. Start forcing people to stand 6 feet apart again. Tell people they can't go outside and enjoy the fresh air again. All of that was just as based in science as the mask situation is. So if you're going to bring back the good old days of telling people that a mask is going to help, why not do the rest of it? Now, I think the answer is they're doing what they believe they can get away with. It is still a demonstration that they are able to control a certain segment of the population, regardless of how ridiculous it is. They could tell these people to walk off a cliff, and they would do it because an expert told them to do it. But at the same time, they recognize that it would be a step too far to start forcing businesses to and to do everything else that they did. Vaccine mandates, all of the lunacy that came from government, that came from the experts. And here, okay, and it couldn't be any more perfect, right? At the same time, you have, based off of science and data, in Florida, an alteration to vaccine standards, loosening them up regarding kids in school. Meanwhile, what are they doing out in California? Everybody put the mask back on. Got to put them back on. COVID's on the rise, going backwards. I mean, what next? The next drought? Are you going to start sacrificing children to the sun gods in order to please the sun gods so it rains some more? Well, you might as well. Pyramid Roofing Company, text line 447 KSGF. I'm Nick Reed. Need a home loan? Got any questions about home loans? What about refinancing? We last Friday talked with Emily Johnson about how the shift has occurred when it comes to number of homes versus number of buyers and agents that are out there, and the days are no longer here present of house on the market and you got 8 offers in 20 minutes. She had mentioned that she is now prepping people who are putting their homes on the market, that it could be 30 to 60 days. We're back to those, more normal, I suppose, relatively speaking, days. Well, does that have an impact on whether you should take out that home loan or not? A lot of folks have been waiting, keep waiting for those interest rates to drop, keep waiting for that to happen because then it's cheaper to borrow money, right? Well, as you continue to wait, What does that mean? Are we going to have an increase of people in the market looking to buy homes, and then that means the price of homes go up? Or is it something you don't have to worry about so much because of the fact that homes are on the market for 30 to 60 days? See, these are the things that you ask the experts, the Carrickers and their team at iwantagreathomeloan.com. It isn't when you're making a decision based just off of interest rates and that alone, then you are in a tunnel vision situation and you don't see all the other things that add to the scenario that can alter the landscape. So that's why you reach out and talk with them. Point being is if you've been waiting to pull the trigger simply because of the interest rate situation, do not wait. Contact them and get their thoughts based off of where you are in life and what it is you're looking to do as to whether or not you should wait or maybe do it now. iwantagreathomeloan.com, because you do. Ilhan Omar had made somewhat of an offhand comment about not being a millionaire, which, of course, prompted some to determine, well, exactly how much is she worth? And it turns out she is a multimillionaire. A net worth of like 25 cents to tens of millions of dollars. Now, some of you may recall this is somewhat of a Gary Hart moment. Gary Hart was a U.S. Senator, I want to say Massachusetts, and he was running in a primary for the Democrat nomination to run for president, and there were allegations that he was having an extramarital affair back when those things mattered, and he had denied it and challenged reporters to follow him around, and one or more did and discovered, he was having an affair. And in fact, the name of his boat was Monkey Business. And it would derail his presidential hopes. He was at that point kind of seen as, this could be the next bright, shining star for the Democrat Party. And he said, well, just follow me around. Look into me if you think that I'm fooling around and untrustworthy. And so someone did and found out it was just that. Well, apparently this is a repeat of that with Ilhan Omar when it comes to her financials. The vast majority of her newfound wealth, which she didn't get until she was an elected official, comes from her spouse's company, Rose Lake Capital, a venture capital management firm whose value swelled to between $5 and $25 million after Ilhan Omar gets elected to office. The firm, co-founded by Omar's husband, Tim Minette, in 2022, boasts about its extensive international ties, high-powered advisors, expertise in diplomacy, legislation, and politics, but reveals absolutely nothing about its actual clients or investments. And so people are noting the crystal clear similarities between her husband and Hunter Biden. Both individuals that had access to elected officials that could make decisions impacting industry. Yet the people involved had no area of expertise whatsoever in those particular areas. Her husband, no background in investment, nor do his partners have any. But, they tout all these international ties and connections they have. Well, again, Ilhan Omar. And so another instance of a person on the left demonizing people who have too much money, hating on this country, claiming that she believes money is the problem, yet here hand over fist raking it in. Government Accountability Institute president and founder Peter Schweitzer, who first reported on Hunter Biden's lucrative foreign business dealings with his father, or when his father was vice president, said that the non-transparent arrangement echoes the second son's ventures in a way that should raise concerns. Like Hunter, both Ilhan Omar's husband and his partner entered the realm of venture capital with close to zero prior business experience outside of the political realm. Biden in lobbying, and Minette and Haler in political fundraising and Democratic Party politics. It's selling access. If the venture capitalism avenue doesn't work out for Ilhan Omar's husband, there's always painting. That can be quite lucrative as well when you have a connection to somebody that is in a position of power. Christy Fulnecki joining us in the upcoming hour. News in 60 seconds. I'm Nick Reed. Springfield's Talk 1041, and welcome everyone to the show. My name is Nick Reed. You are as welcome here as you are when you visit the Pinniger family at Pinniger Honda. Tomorrow's Friday, so there will be a new food truck there. Great place to swing by and have lunch, to a test drive. Shauna, she had a review recently of her experience with the Pinniger family, saying, I had such a great experience buying my 2022 Honda here. Dealership is beautiful. Team made sure my mom and daughters were comfortable with snacks and drinks while they waited. Such a nice touch. Justin Hetherington was friendly, patient, more than helpful, making sure I got in the vehicle I loved. And Zach in finance, thorough, easy to work with. Their friendly personalities and sense of humor made the whole process feel relaxed and enjoyable. And quick one, Chris said, always greeted with a smile. They listen to your concerns and go above and beyond to make sure you're satisfied. Especially appreciate Brad Bacon's knowledge about the 3 vehicles that I have, I lost it here, that I have owned. Love my HRV. And they got all sorts of incredible deals going on right now. Interest rates as low as 0.99%. And again, tomorrow's Food Truck Friday. So was Brad with us last Friday? Do you remember, Sarah?
Barry?
Or Barry, yeah, Brad. Sorry, I just read about a Brad.
I can't remember.
I think he was, because was that when we asked if he ever got into a fist fight? Was that last Friday? Yeah. So,
Sweet.
okay, all right. Well, anyway, they always have a great food truck there on Fridays. South Campbell, just south of Walnut Lawn. And Christy Fulnecki is in studio with us. How's it going there?
It's going awesome.
Well, that's good. You
Yeah,
said you went to the
it's
big
good.
air show in Branson?
It was so fun. It was like a mega rally.
So jealous.
Oh, it was really incredible.
Oh, already got a text in. It's Kiki the Comanche. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we need to play that song sometime.
Yeah, actually, the person who texted it in is the one that created that song.
No, it's not.
Uh-huh.
It is?
Yeah.
I think it was Sarah.
Oh, yeah. Well, we had 2 different. I created one and then.
Oh, I didn't know.
Oh, did you? Or did Monty, though? Did he create?
Yeah, he created
okay,
a
I thought
couple
so.
and then I created one. Just for funsies.
Oh, that's fun. Oh, yeah, I need to hear the other one. Have I heard that?
I don't know.
I don't know, but that's. I don't know, but a lot of MAGA hats at the air show.
Of course.
Yes.
As America, pride, happy,
Yes, I
feel
know.
good.
That's right. Everybody in a good mood and friendly.
You didn't have a bunch of, nasty,
Yeah,
multi-hair colored,
complaining.
screaming at the sky.
I know. No protesters.
Clear psychological difference between you just go to a mass gathering of people that are Trump supporters and then go to a mass gathering of some left-wing anti-Trump thing, and you walk around. If you are
But it's totally different.
well, if you are a completely unbiased person, you're going to walk away recognizing, okay, there's something real wrong with these people over here. And these people over here are actually really normal and just like me.
Yeah, and you want to be around them.
Yeah.
Because they're not miserable. Plus, it's a Saturday, so most people didn't have to work. Usually if you go somewhere during the week, a protest, all the Democrats don't have jobs.
Did you see
We had
that
to support
video?
all of that.
And I think it was over Labor Day weekend when there were a bunch of protesters that were standing on the side of the road waiting for J.D. Vance's motorcade
Oh,
set. And so now this, as the story went, it was a J.D. Vance decision to do this. Now, I don't know how true that is or not, but there was another road that ran parallel to the one that all the protesters were on, maybe, I don't know, 50 yards or so over. And they decided to take that other road instead. And this is how the story went, just to F with the protesters. And so, because you see all the protesters realize they're on the wrong, so they're like, most of them aren't in the best shape anyhow, just, by default. And so, they're like trying to carry their signs over there and everything. And I don't know whether it was deliberately done to mess with them, but that's how one of the stories read. And I thought that was real funny. But
well, that's so true. Because, speaking of the air show, there are a lot of former military. So there are a lot of people that are in really good shape, even older people.
Well, being healthy is white supremacy.
That's right. And I'm telling you, there were so many of your listeners there, and that came
That's
up
awesome.
to me. Oh, yeah. Okay. So I have to give a shout out to Harry. I mean, the sweetest guy.
Aw,
And
Harry.
then his adult daughter was there, Andy Goodson, because she's a nurse at the
Oh,
Wilson Junior High. So this is the
hey.
best because I posted the F-22 Raptor. I don't know if you saw the video, but I'm
did.
telling you, I mean, it really. I said it makes your heart stop. It does. It is. It's so loud too, but I mean, it is so incredible. You know, all this. I think it was yesterday. All these idiot anchors from CNN were talking about the Chinese military. I mean, it makes me so mad because if you look at what we have in the United States, I mean, it doesn't even compare. So anyway, this is what Andy writes. She said, after the F-22 was done, my dad said he wasn't sure which was cooler, meaning Christy Fulnecki or the F-22.
Oh, how nice and slightly delusional.
That's
I'm
right.
teasing. I'm teasing.
So
Well, that's
Harry's really
cool.
nice. We gotta. Harry listens every single day.
Hey, Harry.
I know. I thought that's awesome.
That reminds me of that story that I've told before when a bunch of us several years ago were at Downstream, and somebody, I think she was from Marshfield, recognized you, and so was really talking to you and everything, and she recognized you from the show. And then I walk by, and you're like, "Oh, Nick, come over here," and you introduce her to me, and she's like, "Oh, hi," and then just like had no interest whatsoever, none. I was the most irrelevant person at Downstream at that moment to her.
We're at the restaurant in Branson, and the lady, I can't think of, or was it? Yeah, it was a restaurant.
Oh,
And
when we were there at
yeah, when we were all there, and I don't know if you remember.
Was
that,
this at
but
level
she was the
2?
manager or something?
Was it
I
at level
I
2?
so. And so she started talking to me, and I was like, "Well, Nick is the one. It's his show. I'm just a guest." And she was like, "Nick." I'm like,
Yeah, I know. Take a back seat. I know.
that's right.
That's all right.
But anyway, the Blue Angels were there. And so a lot of people commented that, you know, they're residents of Branson, so they could see, you know, the Blue Angels perform. But I mean, it's incredible. Do you know that I think it's like 80 years or something, they've been performing? There's been 27 deaths.
I did
thought,
not.
man, that's pretty high.
Yeah.
Because I think there's only like 16 on the team right now so that's a pretty high death rate.
Yeah.
I can't do that math very fast, but I don't know. I mean, it's really incredible when you see it.
Yeah, I've seen it, but it's been a long time, and I don't remember where I've seen them, but on at least one occasion.
Yeah.
It's a very impressive thing to see. That's for
We
sure.
were on vacation in Florida because they're out of Pensacola. They have the whole museum. It's so cool down there. And we were going to see it, but that was in 2016, and one of the pilots died at an air show. I think it was in Tennessee or something, so they weren't performing. But I mean, talk about hazard pay. I don't know what they get for that.
Yeah, I don't know either, but okay. Christy Fulnecki here. We're going to get a update on the traffic in a moment. Right now, the latest news update.
And the first alert forecast from Ozarks First meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by St. Clair of the Ozarks Home Improvements. Today we'll see mostly cloudy skies with a high near 84. Tonight, cloudy with a low around 62. For your Friday, we'll see a 40% chance of showers and thunderstorms after 1 p.m., and then mostly cloudy with a high near 75. And taking a look at Saturday, sunny skies with a high near 77.
Chrissy Folnecki joining
yes.
us. There was a story at the top of the hour town hall news, and it was regarding National Guard and Trump wanting to dispatch National Guard to different cities. And,
Yes.
one of the lines of disinformation that the left is constantly trying to push is they try to make it seem as if crime problems that occur are a state issue, not a city issue. And they do that because, of course, the biggest crime problems in the country are in cities that are run by Democrats. But what'll happen, they're like, well, look at the crime. One of the most dangerous cities is in Missouri, and it's red. Well, in Kansas City and St. Louis, yeah, and those are run by Democrats. And so, they
In Springfield.
they try, and we're getting up there, and it's also run by left wingers.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we have quote nonpartisan elections, but everyone knows that they're Democrats.
Yeah.
And that's why we're slowly becoming like a Kansas City or a St. Louis in all the wrong ways. But the news at the top of the hour was, Trump says that he's open to going to some red states, citing New Orleans, which I don't know if the mayor and the council, if they're left, right, I have no idea. But here's the thing, and this is what it's just amazing. Democrats in the media almost create these avenues of success for Trump. Yeah, that would be awesome. If you could get a mayor of New Orleans, for example, in a quote red state, just to say, yes, we want this help, because guess what it's going to do? It is just going to show once again how the problem can be fixed.
I know.
And that's not good for Democrats. And it's going to tell all of the people who live in all of these other cities, hey, wait a minute. This isn't just a Washington, D.C., he got lucky, fixed it, but he did it over here and in this city over there where the mayors welcomed the help. It actually made things better. And so all that's going to do is make their Democrat-run elected officials look even worse.
Yeah.
And so I think it's great. But I think the instinct in the minds of the left is, now the Republicans are going to have to deal with this. Welcome it.
I know.
I would love for Kehoe to say St. Louis, Kansas City, we would love to have National Guard there. Now, of course, it's run by Democrats, and so I guess as long as the governor says to do it, the city can't really stop it. But Republican governors should do that.
Yeah.
Do it. Why would you not do it if you have the ability to do it?
I think they're trying to figure out politically that they have to separate themselves from Trump. But, I mean, that's probably the worst issue to separate themselves on is
right.
crime.
But what I'm saying is if you are, because there's so much talk about, well, you have to have the governor's permission, right? So let's say Kehoe, he's a Republican, say, yes, you can utilize National Guard in St. Louis and Kansas City. Now, I don't know that if the mayor and council and the Democrats who run the city, if they say no, if they can do that, can they say no?
I haven't looked into it, but I would think that, federal law trumps, I mean, literally, I guess. Federal law trumps, so I would think that you would, especially if I think he's doing it at a state of emergency, though, I think.
Well, but then that'll be challenged. But what I'm saying is usually it's the governor that unless he federalizes, unless he federalizes National Guard and utilizes it to protect federal buildings and federal assets and so forth. But if the governor invites it, I don't know that a city can say no as long as the governor says no.
He didn't specifically. I mean, in D.C., they didn't vote for it. I mean, they didn't have a vote. So, I mean, they just came in there.
But that is a federal jurisdiction in and of itself. So that's a whole different situation. But I think it would be a great opportunity for Republican governors to help make things better in their state when you have Democrats running some of the cities. Now, it's unfortunate. I don't like a world. I don't like being in a country in which that becomes necessary, but this is what Democrats have created for us.
Yeah.
I've heard some Democrats say, well, we shouldn't have National Guard in cities. Yeah, you're right, we shouldn't. But this is the problem you have left us with. And
it is an emergency.
And it has been shown to work.
Yeah.
And so what would be fantastic is if you quit your George Soros running ways and actually were tough on crime instead of catering to criminals as if they are your most important constituency, and then actually fix the problem, that would be fantastic.
Yeah,
but you're choosing not to do it.
And the mayor of D.C. wants them there until Christmas. I can believe that.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of hard to pull back from it now, right?
Well, yeah, right.
Because the people have seen it.
Yeah.
Her constituents have seen it and how much better it is. And so it's one thing to, and it's part of the reason some of these Democrat mayors do not want him doing that there, because it's one thing to sort of, talk about the what ifs, but if you make it safe and then you're like, okay, now we're not going to do that anymore, you're deliberately making it more dangerous for your citizens.
Yeah.
In such a stark fashion.
Well, I mean, what they should do is what the D.C. mayor did and agree with it, because politically you're thinking, am I going to get reelected if I agree with Trump on something? But if you work with them, then you can take credit yourself and it makes yourself look better. I mean, if you're just looking at you individually as somebody that's running as a Democrat,
well,
I mean, it would look better for you to agree with Trump.
Well, and it's part of the reason it's so frankly sick is because it's not as if there's a political downside to it.
Yeah,
so when they don't do it, that's just how much they hate Trump. They won't even do something that is politically good for them and literally save lives. There are people in Washington, D.C., you look at the numbers and how long it went, without a murder versus how many murders there were occurring. There are people that are alive today, probably black people, that would not have been alive in Washington, D.C., if it were not for Donald Trump. Now, so much for the Black Lives Matter. All of a sudden, they don't matter so much.
Exactly.
If it's something that might make Trump look good, even when it's politically advantageous for them. That is how deranged they have become.
Yeah.
So anyway.
It's like that because they always wanted to look out for themselves, some of these Democrats. So, I mean, they would rather, but the thing is, the crazy thing is that, and I don't think Trump is doing it intentionally, but he's picking issues that make them look so crazy. I mean, like, with them flying to other countries and trying to bring illegals back and now siding with, on the other side of cleaning up cities. It makes them look deranged.
It's a default. And I played audio earlier from a Democrat congressman of Florida, and he was on Chuck Todd's podcast, and they were talking about Florida turning real red and talking about COVID. And this is a current congressman from Florida, and unless he's state assembly, but I think he's a congressman. Anyway, he's an elected Democrat in Florida, and he said that during the whole COVID lockdown thing, they had all the data, and he said that they knew it wasn't spreading in schools. He admitted this, Chuck Todd. He said, we knew that it wasn't.
Wow.
He said, and I was telling my colleagues that this doesn't make any sense. We don't need to close the schools. But there were two things, the teachers' unions, and he said we had to do the opposite of what the Republicans were doing. He admitted that.
Gosh.
So when I say it's by default that Trump makes these people look like idiots, it's because even something as you would think bipartisan as, let's make it safer. Nope, they got to take the opposite position, just like they did with COVID. It doesn't matter who benefits. It doesn't matter how obvious it is. And so some of these issues are just obvious. They're easy, frankly. And that's why Trump, I think, takes them on because, these are easy wins. We can clean up D.C. We can make it a place that people want to visit and feel safe, and the citizens can be safe. No brainer, right? Well, not to the Democrats. We have to take the opposite position. And so that's how, that it's by default that.
Well, he's just trying to solve problems, and I think they look at it like, some of it could be strategic, but he basically is solving a problem that he sees, and they see it as, he's trying to one up us on something. And all he's doing is doing what he's supposed to be doing. But think of the number of people that the Democrats hurt with their policies. With their decisions, how many people they destroyed during COVID and businesses.
Well, in real direct connections, real direct connections, and it gets ignored. It gets covered up. You had this shooting at the Catholic school in Minnesota, and we learned that after the school shooting in Tennessee, the religious leaders from across Minnesota met on several occasions with Tim Walz saying, we need additional security. We are afraid because of what we saw occur in Nashville that one of our institutions, one of our churches, one of our schools could be targeted next. And there's state funding to a level that goes to these institutions. And it wasn't just some email that was seen by some lower level staffer. They met on numerous occasions with Tim Walz on this. And instead, he used the funding to up security for transgender events and institutions. So now, would that have stopped some of these kids from being killed? We don't know, but we certainly know the way it would be treated if a Republican governor had decided to not, after being asked, to increase security for a facility, specifically citing the fact that we're afraid there's going to be a shooting in one of our institutions, and if a Republican governor ignored them and then the shooting occurred, they'd never let it go. But when it's Tim Walz, a guy who at the same time was more worried about putting tampons in boys' bathrooms,
That guy's
and they act like they
idiot,
just totally ignore it.
And you know what? He's evil too. Did you hear him talking about Trump when they thought
I know.
Trump was dead?
He's a
and he was
psychopath.
he's a psycho.
He's a
Why
psychopath.
is he the governor of that state?
They're weird up there. They really are.
I mean, it is. I mean, he is creepy. He's very creepy. I know, and he's talking about Trump's
he was
dying.
picked to connect with real men, though.
Oh my gosh.
That was the brilliant.
There's not 1 ounce of being a real man in that guy's body.
That was the brilliant calculation of the Democrat Party. How can we find someone that a man's man is going to connect? Hey, how about that jazz hands guy that's handing out tampons to boys? How about that guy?
I know. I always feel like he's going to break out in performance.
Then they wonder why they can't. They wonder why they can't connect to guys. Like, really? Show tunes Tim. He's like
real. I mean, a book I would read was if his wife wrote a book.
Well, she's in that too.
I know. That's what I mean.
And all this stuff. And this is also. I mean, some of this stuff, frankly, it's
married to that.
Oh,
yes.
Well, and then he falsely claimed that his daughter was conceived through.
Oh yeah.
Through IVF. I was like, I know it's not HIV. IVF. I know it's 3 letters.
It's a little way off.
Yeah, I was a little. But he that was made up. He lied about his drunk driving arrest. He lied about serving in a combat zone. I mean, there were a couple of other things, and then when the lies just kept piling up, it became so unavoidable. He's like, "Well, I'm just folksy like that." And the media's like, "Well, that's just being folksy." See, oh, okay, telling tall tales. He's no different than, a guy sitting on a stump down at Silver Dollar City, quarter past the hour in the town square, telling stories to kids for 7 or 8 minutes.
Well, and you can tell, like, some of these political families that are so messed up. I mean, you look at their kids. Like, look at Hunter Biden. Look at Kamala's stepdaughter.
Oh,
I mean, she's still on.
And they're miserable. It's just miserable.
I'm like, these people have destroyed their families.
We got Christy Fulnecki here. Yes. We got a traffic update in just a couple of moments. Weather check as well. The Pyramid Roofing Company text line is 417-447-KSGF. I'm Nick Reed. All right, tomorrow morning, kicking off the weekend at Scramblers. We'll be there 6, 8 to 9 a. And then in the afternoon, happy hour at Retro Metro 4 to 6. Come by and join us.
Fields Talk 1041, the first alert forecast from Ozarks' first meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by J&S Automotive. Today we'll see mostly cloudy skies with a high near 84. Tonight cloudy with a low around 62. For your Friday, we'll see a 40% chance of showers and thunderstorms after 1 p.m. and then mostly cloudy with a high near 75. And taking a look at Saturday, sunny skies with a high near 77.
Christy Full-Necky joins us today.
Yes, yes. And can I tell you what my favorite videos of the week are? I always like to tell you that.
Do you?
They are, yes.
Okay.
She does.
I didn't even...
I do. Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah, she does.
Thank you. The federal workers that are complaining that they have to go back to work. I don't know if you've seen these.
They do not help their cause. No, I haven't seen them, but it's just...
And I'm thinking, oh yeah, there are a lot of them. They played them on Jesse Waters last night. And you realize that all of you have bosses and people that are watching this. I'm thinking, why are you doing? And one lady's like, what have federal workers ever done to you that we have to go back to the office?
This is this is what we see. People who live in a bubble, and they are in the center of the universe. And the fact that, listen, if you're someone who doesn't want to go back to work, and you're just unreasonable about it, but you at least recognize, well, I better keep my mouth shut.
I know.
You know what I mean? At least that
Yeah.
demonstrates you're in tune with what's going on in the world around you. But you could tell these people think that they're going to win over the majority of Americans with sympathy. Like, we're going to feel sorry for them. Guess what? This is the real world. Like, we're supposed to, it's the same mentality that these, like, NPR and PBS have, this indignant attitude as broadcasters that how dare you expect us to make enough money to survive on our own. Like, how dare you, no other radio stations get to do that. No other TV stations get to, when they don't make enough money to sustain themselves, to go to the government and say, well, you have to pay money. But they act as if we're all supposed to feel so bad and so sorry for them. Like, welcome to the real world.
Well, plus, I'm thinking that when they played so many of them, just having utter meltdowns. And I thought, do you know where the money comes from that pays you?
They don't
It's
care.
from the taxpayer.
entitled.
I mean, so I worked in the federal government and for the Navy, and then in the solicitor's office at Department of Interior, and then I did one Army contract at Fort Belvoir. So I've had a couple different experiences of the federal government, and then worked for contractors for the Navy too. And even when they were in the office, people did not work. Okay, so I'm almost 100%.
Probably why a lot of them are upset. Like, I'm not working anyway. What are you going to make me come in for? I'd much rather not work at home.
I know. And I'm thinking, okay, so I'm 100% sure they're not working at home, because most of the time I would see them in the office and they're not working. And
Don't you remember there was a story? I maybe I'm wrong, but I think it was a government worker that had died at his desk and nobody knew it for like 3 or 4 days. You remember that story? Now maybe it wasn't a government worker, but we have to look that up. I
sounds
swear
right.
it was somebody died at their desk, and it was days before someone even realized that this person was dead. And I thought, well, that's an office that's on top of it. But like I said, I understand if it's inconvenient and you don't like it and your personal preference is I'd rather not have to go back into the office. But this is called being an adult. And sometimes in life, not everything revolves around you. That's the attitude that gets me. These people that are they act as if it's some massive injustice against them, as if their employer, the entire federal government and taxpayers exist in order to work around them and what they want.
It was a Wells Fargo employee.
Oh, it's Wells Fargo. So what was it? How long? What was the story?
4 days.
4 days.
Yeah.
Probably only because they started to smell. And don't you start to gas up it, like you start getting bloaty because the gases are breaking in?
Look at me, I don't know.
Well, seems like something you know.
Okay, so that's so random.
It's probably his day to bring snacks, and he didn't, and that's the only reason anyone was like, where'd Leland? Why didn't Leland bring
snacks?
cupcakes?
The federal government, I mean, they would have so many parties for everything. I mean, and it would be like half the day we're having a party for somebody's having a baby or whatever, you know. But the thing that shocked me that they were showing last night is that it was something like it was a high percentage, unless I misunderstood it, but there was something like only like 5 or 6% of the workforce were actually going into the office. And so it was a large majority of the number that weren't even going into the federal government buildings, which I did not realize that everyone was still working remotely until Trump came in. Maybe.
Yeah.
Did you know? I had no idea.
I don't know if I knew it or not, but
they did.
If I didn't, it probably didn't surprise me when I learned.
Yeah.
That's what was going on.
Well, you kind of lead by example. I mean, because Biden was on the beach most of the time and spent 80% of his time on vacation. So why wouldn't everybody else?
Right.
I mean, why would we have to show up to work, right? If you're a federal government employee. So, I don't know. But then again, do we want them to come in? And it depends on where they work. But
this is a good point as well.
That's right. That's why we need just cut about 50%, about 80% of them.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's what they're doing, but
those numbers would be fantastic. Christy Fulnecki with us. More coming up. I'm Nick Reed. have a new Hunter Hardscapes and Outdoor video up on my, courtesy of being produced by producer Sarah.
That's what I
And
do.
yes, you produce,
Oh,
and
cool.
yes, and this is so we had the video of the beginning of the project, my outdoor living space from Hunter Hardscapes and Outdoor, and then sort of the full completion of it, and now there is the project inspector Butters
Yes, it is
video.
a final inspection report from Butters.
So Butters, which is our dog, throughout the project every day, once the team left, would get out there and explore and make sure that quality control was where it needed to be. We never had it done while the workers were there because we just didn't want them to feel intimidated at the work being inspected, but it was aces across the board every time, and Butters is very particular. So you can see that video on my Facebook page. That is my Nick Reed Facebook page, and of course in it is the final project with the seal of approval from Butters. HunterHardscapes.com is their site, and you can find them under Nick's endorsements at KSGF.com. But that video,
You're gonna have a party at your house so everybody can see it.
Yep, everyone's invited. We're going to see how many people we can cram onto it. My street will be lined with vehicles. Everyone park at the rec center and walk over. So we'll have to
But
do.
it's safe.
So CNN, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And we'll have a fire going, a roaring fire, just to add to the excitement. CNN, in just a matter of a couple of days, have gone from spreading the conspiracy theory that Donald Trump was dying and or dead, and now they are pushing the conspiracy theory that he's not dead, but he's going to cancel future elections.
Oh,
Yeah, this is one of their latest.
I saw that yesterday.
Yeah. So, but here is what is I don't know if they missed the point or if they're ignoring the point. Probably missed it because they're dumb. And the report read, when President Donald Trump sat down with Ukrainian President Zelensky last month, the topic was the weighty issue of ending Russia's invasion of Ukraine. But at one point, Trump took a provocative diversion into domestic politics. Zelensky noted that in his country, the law doesn't allow for elections during periods of martial law. To which Trump responded, so you say during the war you can't have elections. So let me say 3.5 years from now. So you mean if we happen to be at war with somebody, no more elections? Oh, that's good. Laughter ensued. Trump wondered aloud what the fake news would do about that comment, but increasingly Democrats aren't laughing. A growing number of them arguing Trump will do something to either try to cancel or commandeer elections to keep his hold on power. So what, and this is again the obtuseness of the left.
Drama.
Trump was making a point here. Zelensky, the guy that the left claims is the great warrior for democracy, doesn't allow elections in his country. And so the irony here is and this is the way CNN and all these outlets paint Zelensky as the greatest thing since democracy ever existed. He is the great defender of democracy. When Trump in the present said, kind of even jokes about, well, maybe I'll do the same thing he's doing. All of a sudden, this is a danger to democracy. This, like, do you not understand Trump is having you make a point of your own hypocrisy and how absurd you are?
Yeah.
So when Zelensky actually cancels elections, he is a warrior for democracy. When Trump jokes about maybe I'll do that same thing, he is a danger to democracy. And I don't think the left even realizes how dumb they are in presenting out on a silver platter their own hypocrisy.
Yeah. Well, they don't understand.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
Apparently. And some people think that they do and they don't care. I do think it's a combination of
being
things.
sarcastic there.
Well, and I think some of it was for this very point. And he was joking and being sarcastic, but it's one of the most aggravating things about the left while trying to claim, like, everything that they claim falsely that Trump wants to do or is going to do are things that Zelensky has actually done.
Said they're doing.
Shut down the media. Yeah. Zelensky has, the way that, he got Stephen Colbert fired, which is laughable for a number of reasons. But Zelensky has actually shut down news outlets that he claimed were Russian propaganda because they weren't writing propaganda pieces for Ukraine. So he literally shuts down media outlets. He has outlawed political parties. He has had this official declaration of war so that he can cancel elections. These are all things that the left claims Trump is going to do because he's a dictator. But when Zelensky does it, those are all hallmarks of defending democracy.
Yeah. Sorry, my daughter was just calling me. So
No. That's all right.
broke up your little speech there, but
I didn't need you to make the point. I was just looking at you.
I mean, they accuse other people. What is it? Projection? Is that what we always say?
Projection.
They accuse other people of what they do. So they try to cheat and steal elections, and then they're going to say that that's what Trump is doing.
Well, and regarding the quote canceling of elections, they attempted to do that by default with the last election. They tried to keep him off the ballot so people couldn't vote for him. They only had one choice, that would be Biden. They tried to imprison him. They tried to keep him off the campaign trail with all these trials. They tried to drain him financially so he couldn't get out there and campaign. So they
tried to kill him. Did you say that?
Yeah, they tried to kill him as well on more than one occasion.
Yeah.
And as many people have noted, it's like the only time Democrats haven't called for gun control after a shooting is when one of theirs tried to, which is true. That should tell you something. But so they attempted to cancel elections without actually canceling them. And yet they're the ones who run around and Trump's going to cancel elections. And it's for thinking people who have a brain. It's frustrating that there are so many dumb people in this country that fall for this stuff, or they are so intellectually and morally dishonest that they don't care. Which is just a weird thing to me to decide, I'm going to be with these people for whatever reason, and I'll just be on their side. Like, for what reason? I don't understand.
It's like they're giving up because they're like, we can't put him in jail, and then, he's not dead. But then we have to come up with some talking points.
Well, they're just at this point fantasizing that he dies. That's where they've gotten.
Oh yeah, and
like they just have to.
Like one woman was like, well, he had this, maxi pad on his ear, and then all of a sudden it disappeared, and then I was like, what? Oh yeah,
maxi pad on his ear.
Yeah, and then she said, and then he took it off, and it was fine. I don't know if she meant like the original Trump died in the assassination, and then he came back.
Are you talking about Joy Reid?
No, some other lady.
Joy Reid, I guess, she's back in the news claiming that he never got shot in the first place. So you have people on the left ranging from he never was shot to he was shot and killed, and now he's got a body double.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which I thought that about Biden. So, but that was more realistic. I did think last summer he died when he was missing, but he was missing for a couple weeks.
Right.
I mean, they made a big deal because Trump, and he didn't even go. You could still see him because he was walking around. He was playing golf. I mean, it was Labor Day weekend.
I mean,
break. You could still physically see him.
You got to give him something. And if it's just pretending that Trump might die, all right, fine, go ahead, live in that world. I mean. Like I said, Tim Walz, he openly encouraged Democrat voters to feel confident because eventually he will die. That's
Talk about inciting violence.
That's what they've been reduced
He's
to.
basically getting excited because he thought maybe Trump was dead.
Oh, earlier when we were joking about the Democrats believing that Tim Walz was the answer to connecting with men, like real men. A text came in on the Pyramid Roofing Company text line. Maybe Tim Walz was the best example of a manly Democrat that even exists.
I know.
Yeah, he's probably like in his mind, he's like, well, when I'm hanging out with my other Democrat guy friends, I'm the most manly one there. So there could be some truth to that.
It's get really. What they do a dance off? It must get between him and Newsom. Newsom has
he does
the
weird hand things.
He does that weird thing too. It must be really distracting being in a room with both of them, and they're both going. Can you imagine the meeting of the Democratic governors?
Can you imagine how distracting it would be if you were a person that didn't have hearing and you relied on sign language? And you got Gavin Newsom and then an official signer right next to him? It would be like two people talking at you saying different things at once. One's just talking gibberish and the other one's trying to actually communicate with you.
Oh my gosh. I can't think of one governor that's a Democrat that is actually masculine.
The worst people. We're going to really put people in their place. White liberal women are the worst.
Oh, I know. They totally are. Yeah.
But white liberal men are the weirdest. If you really think about it, like they're just weird.
Yeah,
The
that's true.
things that they say and think, they're just so odd. But the white liberal women, they're just mean and awful and nasty.
That's a good summary.
Yeah, I think I nailed it. Well, let's go to traffic. Someone on the Pyramid Roofing text line said that after Trump got shot, Biden did call for gun control legislation. So there was apparently one call out of all the Democrats for gun control increases after Trump was assassinated. It was the one senile Democrat. So I'm not sure that.
MAGA hat on during his.
That was it in one of the books about Kamala
Oh my
was beside herself when I think she said, "Why the F would he do that to me?" or something like that.
Yeah.
Because he did that when she was running.
Yeah, it was when she was
Yeah,
running.
it was when
Yes,
she
and he
was
went
running.
over and put that hat on.
That MAGA hat on, idiot. And his defenders were like, "He's just trying to be bipartisan." Oh, yes. The man who called Trump Hitler and supporters a semi-fascist has decided to and called supporters garbage. He decided he was going to be.
He clearly just walked out of.
Senile.
Looked like he walked out of that nursing home that he escaped, and they're trying to find him.
Memory care unit specifically.
Yes, I know. That's right. Well, I don't know.
Old Joe. He did show up at an ice cream store, I think, last week. Yeah, I saw. He showed up.
I miss those jokes.
Well, and then, yeah, that is true. You know what would be awesome? Actually, Trump should give him some position. Just to keep him in the news and just to screw with Democrats.
Secret Service.
Not his. Maybe that's what he should have done instead of revoking. Well, he didn't revoke Kamala's Secret Service, but she used up her Secret Service time. Biden tried to extend it, and Trump was like, no, she's not going to be treated any differently than any former VP. But he should have, appointed him to be her security detail.
You had so much faith in him that I will give you.
Like he could create some like the ambassador of ice cream or something. That's what I would do. And I would have him to the White House and come. I'd keep him out there as often as possible. You know how much that would screw with the Democrats. And what are they
that would
going to
be-
say? That's elder abuse. Oh, is it?
Oh,
Really?
yeah, right.
Except for
What do you
I'm
call
just
it?
making him ambassador to
The last
ICE.
5
Yeah.
years.
I'm not actually asking him to do real work. I wish he would do that. Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I think Newsom would really appreciate that.
Oh, speaking
Ready
of
for
Will, we
prison.
only have 20 seconds left, but Will Scharf is going to be in town for the Target barbecue. Do you know that? He's going to, yeah.
Is that next week or?
Or the,
weeks.
yeah, it's one of the two. We'll have to look that up.
On Saturday, I believe.
Yes, and tomorrow's my wedding anniversary.
Oh, hey, well, happy anniversary.
you.
How many years?
27.
That's a long time to be
I know I had to
married.
use my calculator to figure that out. I did.
Springfield's Talk 1041. Hello. Welcome to the show. Tomorrow, Friday. Broadcasting live from Scramblers. We're also going to have our happy hour at Retro Metro 4 to 6. You never know who will show up. Well, you know I'll show up. You know Sarah will show up. Maybe Emily Johnson, House Theory Realty. Of course, she's very busy, making you priority number one when it comes to buying homes and selling homes. One day a year she takes off, and if you read reviews, you can see how dedicated and passionate she is. And she's got the hookup. She's got the connections. That is so important. Some of you have probably been through the process before of buying or selling a home, and maybe selling your home, and you needed some upgrades made. It was part of the agreement in order to sell the home. Needed some termite work done, and maybe a little patching on the roof or concrete repair. And, well, okay, you're just on your own. But what you hear consistently from people who use Emily Johnson House Theory Realty is that not only does she know the best people to use, there are times in which she just makes the calls and makes it happen. Having that sort of top level person that is there not just helping you navigate through things, but at times taking the helm herself is why she is the absolute best in the area. And it's why I recommend her for home buying and home selling needs. It's Emily Johnson House Theory Realty. We've got an author of the week coming up that is going to be doing a book signing at ABC Books in October. But we wanted to have her on a bit prior to that because it is September. Didn't know this. It's Suicide Awareness Month. And she has a book regarding suicide. And it is, now some of you may think, well, that doesn't sound that interesting. It's a very fascinating one, reason that she wrote the book, but two, the approach in terms of suicide and a lot of actual scientific evidence regarding religion and prayer and genetics when it comes to individuals that are predisposed to suicide. A lot of actual scientific studies that have been done that just aren't known. It's not talked about. And given so much in the news regarding people that, particularly young people that turn to suicide, or sometimes their form of suicide is, as you know, what's known as suicide by cop, where they may go start taking out other people so that they will be taken out. It is something that is part of the national conversation, as they say. And so I think you're going to enjoy that conversation we have coming up. Again, sponsored by ABC Books on North Glenstone, author of the week. Right now, the latest news update.
And the first alert forecast from Ozarks First meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by St. Clair of the Ozarks Home Improvements. Today we'll see mostly cloudy skies with a high near 84. Tonight, cloudy with a low around 62. For your Friday, we'll see a 40% chance of showers and thunderstorms after 1 p.m., and then mostly cloudy with a high near 75. And taking a look at Saturday, sunny skies with a high near 77.
The conspiracy theory that won't die, text on the Pyramid Roofing Company text line. The Stop Project 2025 people are back at Sunshine and National, and it's all old people. Just, someone needs to tell them that conspiracy theory is there are so many new conspiracy theories that as left-wingers, you folks can be protesting. At least the weather's nice for them. When I stepped out earlier to let Christy in, it's very cool outside.
I know, it's very
so
fall-like.
At least if you're going to be out there with your conspiracy theories on the side of a road, handful of you as elderly people, at least you have nice weather that will be accommodating for your cause. Author of the week coming up. I'm Nick Reed. Thursday means it is Author of the Week, sponsored by ABC Books on North Glenstone, where you can, of course, go get any of the Author of the Week books that we have. And then we do have also, if you miss any past interviews with authors, you can go to ksgf.com in the podcast section, Author of the Week. It's a great resource for you as you try to decide what book is going to be the next book for you to read. And we have the author this morning, D. Trans, True Stories of Escaping the Gender Ideology Cult. Mary Margaret Olahan is with us, and I want to thank you for being with us this morning. This is an issue that I talk about quite often on the show for a number of different reasons. And if we could start off, what prompted you, compelled you to write on this particular subject?
Well, it's a story, and I guess I should say stories that the establishment media don't want to tell. And, you know, in my job as a conservative reporter, I view that largely as my job to tell the stories that aren't being told.
This is your home for the Retro Metro Lunch Bunch. Sign up to win at ksgf.com.
When was the last time you bragged about your wireless company? Like, did you know my wireless company gave away 1,000 American flags to deserving veterans and forgave $10 million in veterans' debt? Did you know that my wireless company raised almost $500,000 to prevent vet suicide? In other words, when your wireless company is Pure Talk, there's a whole lot to brag about. You can even brag about the coverage you get with Pure Talk. They use the same 5G network, the same cell towers as all the big carriers. And guess what? The average family saves over $1,000 a year. You can get unlimited talk and text, plenty of data, $25 a month. That's saving everybody a fortune. Make the switch. It's simple, fast, easy. Just dial pound 250, say the keyword save now. Do it now. You save an additional 50% off your first month. That's pound 250, keyword save now from our friends at Pure Talk.
KSGF Mornings with Nick Reed, sponsored by the Carricker team at IWantAGreatHomeLoan.com. Because when the time comes, you'll want a great home loan. IWantAGreatHomeLoan.com. NMLS number 1283419.
You're listening to Nick Reed in the Morning on Springfield's Talk 1041.
Springfield's Talk 1041. I'm Nick Reed. It's Thursday, which means it is Author of the Week, sponsored by ABC Books on North Glenstone. And we've got an in-studio author this week, which means, doesn't always mean this, but it does mean that this time that there is going to be a book signing coming up later in October, and we'll make sure to before we wrap things up this morning, to give you a date and time on that. It'll be at ABC Books. The author today, Hope Sheridan, the book is Moan, Stories of Suicide, Grief, Grace, and God. Very personal, the book to you.
Yes.
Well, and so let's start off. Just tell us, what prompted you to write the book? What's it about? I know it's very open-ended questions here.
Yeah, sure. And it takes a whole book to describe that, right? So thank you, first of all,
Absolutely.
for the opportunity for this message. The book, Moan, is inspired. I believe it's divinely inspired. And it's really been a 15-year process. It started with the suicide of my daughter's stepbrother when they were both 16. And that's just devastating and traumatic in multiple ways. And as I tried to help her heal, recover from that, get through that, I started researching. I'm like an analyst by nature, and I had to understand what I was dealing with. And as I started researching the phenomenon of suicide, frankly, as a parent, I was scared to death with what I learned and what I didn't know. And as I started researching, there was just something on my heart that said, remember this, keep this, pay attention to this. And from there, I just kept learning and learning. And eventually, I don't want to give away too much of the book, but eventually she lost her entire step family, including her father, to suicide. And so I kept learning each person who passed had a unique story and a unique reason why. Or, as I like to say, reason why not. And as I learned and learned over the years, and we kind of dealt with this, there was one image that just stuck in my mind. And for her, she was unique in that she had a relationship with God. And we drew upon that time and time again and actually used these to make her stronger, deepen her faith, realize that suffering is part of life and there's a way through. And so on the other side of that, I felt about 4 years ago like I needed to write this book. It was just a matter of when. And finally, I got the green light. And I felt now is the time. And I couldn't have predicted the time better. The rise of suicide rates post-COVID, especially among high schoolers, young men in particular. The book is full of statistics that as a parent I found helpful. And this book is not written, this book is written for the layperson. This is my message to parents, grandparents, and other people who don't know how to start understanding this topic. So the first half of the book is the story of my daughter and how we made it through, how we learned, how we survived all of that and came out on the other side. The second half of the book is I don't want to call it statistics, but it's the information that I learned that I think is really relevant. So kind of the summary of everything I've learned over the last 15 years in researching this topic. And really, I'm most excited and astonished about the timing and some very important data that came out in 2023 that actually answers lots of questions.
We're talking with our author of the week, Hope Sheridan. The book is Moan, Stories of Suicide, Grief, Grace, and God. The first word there, moan, in all caps. And early on in the book, the first half, I think one reads that chapter and recognizes where that came from, that moan. Would you explain that?
The word
Yes.
that, of course, everyone looks at and then gasps. And the story is very personal. I hadn't told anyone that I was supposed to write this book. For 10 years, it was just something between God and I. And then one morning in December 2021, my husband woke up, sat up in bed, looked at me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going on? And he relayed to me this very vivid dream he had. And his dream was that I wrote a book. We were at a book signing. I mean, I had to decipher some of what he was saying, and that the book impacted lots of different kinds of people. That's exactly what he said, different kinds of people. And even my hair is standing up on my arms now because that's when it really became real to me that this is a calling and this is so important. People are suffering. People are hopeless and they're in despair. And there is an answer. There's a way out. There's the blending of the science and like biblical strategies that's profound and well documented. And in that moment, that's when my green light happened, and I got the message to proceed. And one of the things he told me, my husband told me that morning, was he could see the title of the book, and it was Moan. And I'm like, I don't think so. That doesn't sound right. This is a book about, God and his grace. And then I looked up the definition of the word moan. And Merriam-Webster said it's a low, prolonged sound of pain, grief, or distress. And I literally remember sitting at my desk that day and just thinking, oh my gosh, that's exactly what this is. That's exactly what the suffering is. That word's been rebranded, but that's what it's going to be. It's not the flashy titles I had planned, but it is what it is.
My wife and I, we're not obsessed with them, but we watch a lot of sort of the Datelines, and what every so often, particularly when you're dealing like with a parent and a child, and there's the learning of an untimely death.
Yeah,
I've noticed that oftentimes someone who is there when the mother hears about it or the family member, they say, I heard a sound I never heard before.
Yeah.
And that's a bit of how you described.
Yes.
Yeah. That really stood out to me.
No one wants to attend a tragic funeral, but especially the funeral of a teenage boy, and what a mother goes through who's trying to get through that process. It is a sound that I say in the book I never heard before, and I hope never leaves my lips. It's just the sound of someone's heart being ripped from their chest.
It's like you're hearing the soul, like the actual
really
soul
is.
or something.
It really is. And I don't know that most people understand what we're talking about when we talk about the phenomenon of suicide. We're talking, I think right now in the news, there's all of the information about Washington, D.C. and crime and Chicago and murder rates. I don't think most people understand the rate of suicide is twice as high as the rate of homicides. We're hyper-focused on homicides.
That's true.
Why are we not hyper-focused on the fact that suicide happens twice as often? Males are 4 times as likely to die by suicide, and especially our young men. Our young men are dying at an unprecedented rate. The numbers are overwhelming, but just to make it very real for people, in those age groups, high school and young men, even children as young as 10 now, we're talking about 22% of high schoolers have reported considering suicide. That's stunning. That's a large number.
Right.
I have a son myself in that age group. And why are we not doing more? It's not enough to just see something, say something. It's not enough to just have the conversation. Some of the tactics right now frustrate me when we know, as of 2023, suicide has genetic anchors in 4 chromosomes. If you have that genetic defect, your risk is high. It just takes a situation or one of the other risk factors weighing in to overwhelm you. I don't know that people understand what I learned through these situations. My daughter's stepbrother came from a family with an overwhelming genetic history of suicide. We're talking his mom, his uncle, their father, his mother, her dad. We're talking about a 5-generation legacy. And if we had known that, if we had understood that in a frame of how I understand it now, if you have that history, you take You do things to prevent a person being overwhelmed to the point that they act on it. It's no different than breast cancer. Everyone understands breast cancer now. You have the screening, you detect the genetic marker, and then you're hypervigilant about monitoring and preventing that cancer from getting a hold of you. It's no different. If you know that you have a genetic risk,
Sure.
you then are learning and teaching your children healthy coping mechanisms, how to be resilient. Personal identity has a lot to do with someone who's at risk of suicidal behavior, purpose in life. All of the things we know that help, that's what you do for people who are most at risk. And right now, this study has been out for 2 years and I'm still not hearing anything. And the study was very reliable. We're talking about 1 million veteran files. I mean, that is very credible information.
Well, and it seems like pretty groundbreaking and
it is
like a real revelation.
It is. I mean, so for me,
Right,
and my
yeah.
understanding, if we know this leading cause of death more so than homicides, why are we not doing anything? And that's in the book. I kind of go into some of the other research that I found. I'm thinking that there may be some stigmas, some professional stigmas that limit some of the actions that we're taking. If we're in this rut of only science, then we're missing the fact that actively practicing your religion is shown to reduce suicidal behaviors by up to 80%.
That's profound.
I think so.
And over the last anytime there is a non-suicidal use of a firearm, and we've seen it recently, and then there is the expression of prayers, and we saw it, and I talked about it on the show, people that dismissed that as there needs to be more done. And one of the things I talked about is, people who offer up prayer, I think there's a lack of understanding what that means. And it's almost as if some people who don't have that in their life, they think it's like going to Santa Claus at the mall before Christmas, where you just have a wish list. And there's a real lack of understanding and appreciation that it's not, well, that's all that we do.
Exactly.
And this book is a demonstration of that, the importance of it, but then also, looking into the science and figuring out. I just think that's a very important thing.
When I started writing this book, I didn't know what the outcome would be. I was just the scribe writing what was impressed upon my heart, and really the book wrote itself. And I did my homework. I did my research. I have spent hundreds of hours, maybe even thousands of hours, plowing through databases and articles and research. And I even was surprised with what I was led into, simply because it is not professed. It is not funded. There are some researchers who are working on research projects that prove resilience, biblical resilience strategies are the answer. The science is clear. And yet we're doing all of these other things. And one of the sources in the book, I remember almost crying when I read it. Out of 90,000 National Institutes of Mental Health grants that were awarded, I think there were 10 that focused on religion. The number was so overwhelming, it's even hard to speak out loud. We're not researching it. In particular, mental health training programs are not teaching religion as a preventative or proactive measure. They simply don't. So we have many mental health practitioners who have not been trained, unfortunately, in some of the strategies that are shown to be most effective. And it's not because they don't want to be trained. Well, that's another argument. But those who want the training, it doesn't exist. It isn't there. And that should scare everyone. We have science that says this particular strategy works, and yet the training for the people who could intervene is absent. In fact, APA, the American Psychological Association, they had done a study a while back, and I believe, if I remember correctly, this is in the book, they found something like only 30% of their members actively practice religion or even believe that there's a God. So to your thoughts and prayers comment, I think that's what you see when people who don't understand are the ones that are kind of the gateholders for the therapeutic remedy. I think you do see this disconnect that I talk about in the book.
We're talking with Hope shared in the book, Moan, Stories of Suicide, Grief, Grace, and God. You had mentioned earlier, and there's a chapter regarding stigma. And, we talk so much about it, and when it comes to suicide, but mental health overall, we hear so much about the stigma. And I think one day I realized, I don't even know if I know what the stigma is, because on one hand, we do publicly associate, like every time something horrible happens, right? What do we say? That's a mental health issue. But then we say, well, we don't want to stigmatize mental health. And I'm like, well, that obviously there is a mental health component to that. It seems like it. If you do something that is, violent perhaps. But then how do you destigmatize it every time something horrible, like the worst people in the world, we say, oh, that's a mental health issue.
Sure. It's just a label.
Yeah.
It's a label to help explain things the way that I think about things, and especially suicide. People do things they would not normally do when their brain is not working the way that it should. And that is true for so many things, so many reasons. There are the persistently ill mental health issues. what I find in the research about suicide is those 4 defective chromosomes that I'm talking about that put you at risk of suicidal behavior. There are other things that live on those defective chromosomes as well. Things like addiction, things like PTSD. From the article that described this groundbreaking research, they list post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, schizophrenia, mood disorders, ADHD, risky behaviors, alcohol use disorder, antisocial behavior. What we see is those abnormal behaviors that include suicidal behavior are the result of defective genes. No different than any other illness. But somehow when we talk about suicide, we talk about it differently, or don't talk about it really, don't want to talk about it because it's so scary. Yet it's no different than many of the other medical conditions that are the result of defective genes as well. And until we become not afraid to talk about suicide in a meaningful way about actual things that we can do to help, we're not going to get better. And we have to get better. We're losing our young men. And that's not to say there aren't young women, but the statistics are so profound that is young men are at an increasing risk that we've just not seen before. And often, some of the more disturbing cases involve social media, risks that you can't possibly see, very impulsive risks that parents just don't think are out there. When we are talking about suicidal behavior, we're talking about the thoughts, the attempts, the actions. And I think a lot of times we only focus on the actions, the attempts that people actually make. And especially what I wish I had known earlier in my parenting life is we need to assume every child is at risk. You can't predict it, and you don't want to wait until it's too late. There are ways to teach your children healthy ways to cope. There are ways to build resilience into your children's lives. And I'm talking about 5 years old, 8 years old, 10 years old. You don't wait until they're a teen. There are ways to make them resilient, give them a healthy self-identity, give them a purpose. Even at 5 years old, children have a purpose. And there's a better way. And what we're doing, obviously, is not working. The rates are only going up. And even some of the current campaigns that are firearms related, that's a symptom. It's not the root problem. I see this whole thing as there's a process improvement to be made here. And until we acknowledge the root of the problem, we're not going to get better. And the weapon is not the root. Mental health is the root, but how we are solving the problem needs to change.
Our author of the week, sponsored by ABC Books on North Glenstone, Hope Sheridan. The book is Moan, Stories of Suicide, Grief, Grace, and God. Any final thoughts for people listening? Oh, when's the book signing?
The book signing at ABC Books is on October 11th from 12:30 to 2:30. As a final thought, you may be someone who has never experienced a friend, a family member who's committed suicide. It's still affecting you. Each suicide affects 5 family members and 135 community members. I assure you, your children, by the time they're out of Springfield Public Schools or any other school in the area, they will know someone who's been affected by suicide. This is a community problem, more so than anyone wants to acknowledge. And it's going to take a community of family, churches, agencies to get behind a proven method that works. And I don't see this as a problem that's going to be solved by grants. So that people have access to the information that's in the book, whether you get the book or not, I've put as many of the resources of the book on a website so that you can access it any time. The website is www.moanstory.com. And just so that you don't misspell it and end up somewhere you never intended, that's MOANSTORY.com. I'm asking family and community members and church people, come together and solve this from a grassroots perspective. We can do this. We just need to implement some good old-fashioned strategies that we know work and have the courage to do it. We can make a difference.
Hope Sheridan, again, author of the week, sponsored by ABC Books on North Glenstone, the book Moan, Stories of Suicide, Grief, Grace, and God. For Springfield's Talk 1041, I'm Nick Reed.
Springfield's Talk 1041, the first alert forecast from Ozarks First meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by J&S Automotive. Today we'll see mostly cloudy skies with a high near 84. Tonight cloudy with a low around 62. For your Friday, we'll see a 40% chance of showers and thunderstorms after 1 p.m. and then mostly cloudy with a high near 75. And for your Saturday, sunny with a high near 77. And Josh Awesome Sauce, that's his last name by the way.
I like that.
Yep, that's it.
Yeah.
Just in case you were curious, with the Pyramid Roofing Company, he stopped by the Fixer Upper Farmhouse yesterday to do an annual roof inspection. And even though I have a newer roof, it's always good to inspect your roof, the first couple of years while it's under warranty and check for manufacturer's defects, which they're not common, but they do happen. So Josh, he checked for hail damage, nail pops, blistering, which I had none, and I got the green light and I'm all good to go. Now, if you haven't scheduled a roof inspection lately, now is a good time to do it, especially as we move into fall. Now, the Pyramid team, they offer free roof inspections, and they do residential, commercial, and metal roofing services. If it is time to have Josh out to your home, reach out to him today. You can find all of the contact information for the Pyramid Roofing Company under the Sarah's Endorsements tab at KSGF.com.
We have tomorrow, Friday, happy hour 4 to 6 at Retro Metro. Do you know what opens a week from that?
What?
Not this Friday, but next Friday. Hotel of Terror.
Oh my gosh. That doesn't sound right.
That's what I was like, are you all, that's, I know it just becomes somewhat redundant to be like, I can't believe how fast things are going by, but I saw
really
that and I was like,
does.
holy cow.
I know.
Yeah, ozarksfirst.com, Springfield's longest running haunted house, back to provide fun and scares in 2025. Hotel of Terror opening Friday, September 12th, and Saturday, September 13th. It will be open every Friday and Saturday in September. After the 12th, in October, every Friday and Saturday and Sunday will be open, and then it will be open all week starting October 20th. It opened in 78, which I know we've talked about before because, of all
Are you going this year?
I'm sure we will. We've gone every year since, I don't know when we started going, but yeah, so I'm sure we will.
It's a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun. It's very enjoyable. I like it. We take the girl child. She usually brings a friend or two. Although, actually, now that I remember, last year we didn't go through it with the girl child and her friends, and I don't remember why.
Did you do the what's the other one called? That's with it.
There's hotel.
Dungeons of Doom.
I think
is that
that's
right?
I think
that sounds right.
Yeah, it's Dungeons of Doom. So we usually do both of them. Yeah, I don't remember why actually. I don't know if one of us maybe wasn't feeling well. We were there, but there was some reason that we just did not go through it. I just remember that. So we'll have to remedy that this year.
There you go.
Have you been through both of them?
I haven't been to Dungeons of Doom, but
you should go. It's so different than the other one. Yeah, it is. There's a lot of like open areas. Like there's sort of a Jack the Ripper area, and you feel like,
cool.
and you're kind of walking through a town of sorts, wherever Jack the Ripper was, at London, I guess. I don't know. So it's a little more open ended than the Hotel of Terror. So they just have a different flavor to them. I mean, I guess they're both scary, but yeah, so I always recommend, because I think sometimes people go to one and then they're like, oh well, they're probably just about the same. They're not the same at all. So
they do the hay rides, I believe.
Yeah, back and forth. Yeah, because that's part of it. They run back and forth the tractor trailer with the little hay bales you sit on, and so you can park at one, and then you don't have to get in your car and find parking, and then back and forth. You can do that. It's a little fun thing.
I'll have to sweet talk the husband and see if he'll do it.
Yep, I do. I recommend both.
Yeah, he missed all of the holidays last year, so he's really in the fall spirit this year. So we'll see if I can get him to go.
We're going to take a real quick break, and then want to share this story that just the depraved nature of some of these left wingers. And J.D. Vance, he went to pay respects to victims of last week's deadly shooting and to meet with family members who are clearly still in mourning. And left-wing activists decided this was a fantastic time and place to show up and scream things at J.D. Vance. Classy as always. Sarah Myers, everyone.
Thank you. Foreman Mechanical Heating and Air. Fall is on its way. You can just feel it in the air. And even though we are not there yet, now is the time to take a look at your furnace. The last thing that you want is to flip that switch and realize that your furnace isn't working the way that it should. That is why I call Foreman Mechanical Heating and Air for all of my HVAC needs. They're locally owned, family owned, and they really do go the extra mile for you. A fall maintenance, it's quick, it's affordable, and it gives me peace of mind knowing that my system is safe, clean, and ready for the season ahead. It'll give you a peace of mind too. And if there is a bigger issue, the Foreman team, they'll give you honest advice and just top-notch service. So before fall settles in for good, reach out to Russell and his team. You can find all of the contact information for Foreman Mechanical Heating and Air under the Sarah's Endorsements tab at ksgf.com.
So Vice President J.D. Vance went to visit with family members of those who were affected directly and indirectly at the Minneapolis church shooting. And there were left-wing activists that decided to take the opportunity, that moment, to stand outside, protest, and scream, wave pride flags. I think some of these people on the left really need to get straight whether or not these shootings are or are not related to transgenderism. The contradictory approach by the left, when you talk about the shooter and note that this was a transgender individual and note the increased number of transgenders that have carried out shootings, they say this has nothing to do with transgenderism, leave transgenderism out of this, but then they insist on using the transgender pronouns and show up at these events meant to be moments of coming together and, prayer and just moments of comforting, and then they show up screaming protests that are pro-trans protest and waving, rainbow flags. Which is this? Is this something that is related to pride and transgenderism, or is it not? Because the left appears to be very confused as to whether or not this is an appropriate event in which transgenderism should be discussed or should not be discussed. They're all over the place with it. It's interesting that, years ago, some of you may remember the Westboro Baptist Church, folks. And this was a group of individuals that declared themselves to be a church. I don't know how legit that was. But they would show up for funerals and visitations and have, poorly made cardboard signs, and they would protest things. And, usually it was anti-LGBTQ stuff and so forth. And they were synonymous with lower than low. Universally, the media would unfortunately oftentimes give them coverage. And they didn't really have a lot of supporters because even people, though, that said, well, yeah, there's freedom of speech, but there's a time and a place for this stuff. And that's what's so vile about them. It isn't even, their message as much as their decision to take a moment in which family is coming together, looking for solace, looking for comfort, to comfort one another. And of all of the places, that is where these people decided to cause a disruption, decided to protest. And universally, they were covered and seen as being just vile human beings. And I just find it very interesting that today the Westboro Baptist Church has been replaced by left-wing activists because they're doing the same thing. Their message is different, but the decision to take these times in which you shouldn't have your political grandstanding and screaming at people and yelling at them, that's just not the time to do it. Have a little bit of a soul. Have some heart. Now, of course, the media doesn't cover it the same way. They don't cover it through the lens of, look how disgusting these people are for taking what is supposed to be a moment of coming together, a moment in which family members are heartbroken and they are in mourning, and only the most vile human beings amongst us would take that opportunity in order to protest, but they don't use that lens when it comes to left-wing protesters at an event like this. Now, of course, we know why. It's because they back their cause. They're on the same side as they are. But I would argue, and this is what I think we should again remember, universally, the reason that people expressed disgust at the Westboro Baptist Church wasn't because of the message that they had, though for most people that message was disgusting. It was the fact that they took that opportunity to do it at a funeral, at a memorial. Well, that's exactly what these left-wing activists have taken to doing. No different. So they're no better. And I think that it's a real unfortunate reflection of our culture that the sort of behavior that just 20, 30 years ago, universally across the political spectrum, everyone accepted as being unacceptable is the same, that same sort of behavior today is promoted and accepted by the left and the media. As long as it's their, people that they consider to be on their side. Sad reflection. There's a story that has been published on Fox News today about lower-level federal judges that are anonymously trashing the Supreme Court. Now, let me just tell you what this is. These are left-wing judges that have, because of their Trump derangement syndrome, abandoned their pledge and are trying to block anything and everything that the Trump administration is doing legally by whatever means, despite the Supreme Court ruling that you have to stop doing this. You cannot, particularly when it comes to nationwide injunctions. And the Supreme Court noting that you cannot continue to do this. If you are some judge at some lower level court, you can decide that you believe that something is unconstitutional and have some sort of injunction for the area that you preside over as a judge, but you don't have jurisdiction over the whole country. And that's what they have been doing with this alarmingly increased frequency, and that's what the Supreme Court has said. You have to stop doing this. Now, unfortunately, some of these judges are doing it anyway because they don't care. And now they're running to NBC News and anonymously, they're trying to discredit the Supreme Court. This is how out of control this is becoming, and how out of control the left has become. And this is one of the only devices that they have left at this point. It is to use their people on the courts in order to illegally and unconstitutionally block some of Trump's executive, orders or decisions from being implemented. NBC News reporting today that a group of anonymous federal judges criticizing the Supreme Court for overturning lower court decisions and instead siding with President Trump, claiming that they don't have their back. That's their claim. How off the mark do you have to be as a judge to, not openly because they're doing it anonymously, but believing that it is a legitimate argument to complain that the Supreme Court is overruling you in cases that they find you were not within your judicial authority to make a certain ruling, and because instead Trump is winning some. Now, not all of them. The Trump administration is losing some of these at a Supreme Court level, but the Supreme Court is also, through their opinions, finding that some of these judges, in many instances clearly, have stepped over the line. And for these judges to complain that the Supreme Court is wrong because they don't have our back, that's not the job of the Supreme Court. That's not what the Supreme Court is not your big brother that when you are getting beat up by someone comes in and takes your side. That's not their job. And the fact that there are liberal judges on the bench that are complaining that the Supreme Court is, that they're doing their job instead of just defaulting. And what's the point of the Supreme Court then? If their job is to always side with the lower court ruling, then there's no need for a Supreme Court. What's interesting, and kudos to NBC for actually reporting on this, they noted that there was, of the 12 different judges they spoke with, one of the judges, actually appointed by Obama, conceded that several of the judges have been out of line with their rulings against Trump, said, quote, this is an Obama-appointed judge. The whole Trump derangement syndrome is a real issue. As a result, judges are mad at what Trump is doing or the manner in which about he's doing the things. They are sometimes forgetting to stay in their lane. In other words, do their job. I guess if there's a silver lining in that story from NBC, it's that even though he's an Obama-appointed judge, is honest about what's going on. We will see you at Scramblers in the morning as we broadcast live there for the Friday Road Show, and then at Retro Metro for Happy Hour tomorrow afternoon, 4 to 6. Glenn Beck's next. I'm Nick Reed.